A new study shows a family of four here needs about $120,000 a year just to meet all their basic needs, basic stuff. That same study shows more than a quarter of Bay Area households are struggling. The study is called the Real Cost Measure, done by the United Way. It looked at the cost of housing, health care, child care, and transportation. Here are some of the other takeaways. Households of all races are struggling, but look at this. Latino families are struggling the most. Nearly 50% are estimated not to be making enough to get by. 45% of black families are also below the threshold of earning enough to meet their needs. Joining us now is Kevin Zwick, the CEO of United Way Bay Area. Kevin, nice to have you on the program. About $120,000 a year. How did the United Way, how did you guys come up with that number? How did you arrive at that number?
Well, we work with our partners statewide to create a new measure called the Real Cost Measure. There's things like the federal poverty standard, but that doesn't capture the true cost of living in the Bay Area because it doesn't take into regional disparities. So when we looked at what the cost is for the average price home, healthcare, childcare, transportation, and other basic needs, we feel like that reveals the true cost of what it takes to keep your head above water in the Bay Area.
What stands out to you here? I'm guessing my household, your household is similar to what you research in terms of the biggest expenses, housing and childcare. Is that right?
Well, that's absolutely the case. I mean, and the severe lack of affordable housing for people at all different income levels is what's driving most of the disparity in the Bay Area. On top of that is the cost of childcare. On top of that is the cost of transportation, because we haven't had regional transportation policies that link efficiently where people live and where people work. And of course, as we've seen with inflation and other things, the costs of food and other household items have gone up and up while wages haven't.
Kevin, what do we need to do to make changes? And I know more housing is probably the number one thing you're going to say, but what else can we do?
Well, you know, the fact that 1 in 4 families struggle, it's not because of any individual failings by the heads of any of these households. It's because of systemic issues, and it's a result of our own policy choices. There were a host of policies that we had in place very recently during the pandemic that for the first time reversed the trend of child poverty in our country. Things like the expanded child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, the Golden State stimulus. Those things were truly lifting families out of poverty. So if we double down on those policies, and of course, if we build more affordable housing in our region, we can help hundreds of thousands of families.
Final question, why do this in terms of the United Way? What's your goal here?
Well, we know we can't dismantle the root causes of poverty, which is the mission of United Way Bay Area, without ensuring that everyone in the Bay Area has equitable access to jobs, education, and housing so that they have financial stability. And it's just we want to make sure that this issue stays on the front burner for people. Too many of our neighbors are one paycheck away from or one disaster away from a crisis. They're working hard, but they're barely getting by. And we'll have a healthier Bay Area when all of us and all of our neighbors can have an equitable opportunity to thrive.
Very interesting data, and I got to say it's not necessarily surprising. Kevin Zwick with the United Way Bay Area. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.